Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 7th overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. Inside today's video, we're going to be drafting up against the ESPN average draft position. Now, I know a lot of people prefer when I draft up against real people, and that will be likely happening in tomorrow's video, but I was definitely on a time crunch to record today's video, so if I waited 5 minutes to get into a mock draft, and I ended up drafting up against some guy who decides to take a kicker with the first overall pick, then I have to leave that draft, wait another 5 minutes to get into another draft, and then if someone does something crazy again, then I have to restart again. So I do apologize for that. I am on a time crunch, so we are doing it on the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard, but I believe that, in my opinion, the ones where I do it on the Draft Wizard, I actually am able to give the most in-depth analysis of the draft, and that is my goal of these videos. Again, this is a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 7th overall spot, drafting up against the ESPN average draft position. The roster positions go as follow for this video: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. The goal of all these mock draft videos is to give you guys the best in-depth analysis into my thought process as I'm making each and every single pick, as well as discussing the other picks going on around me. But before we get into this 12-team PPR mock draft, I would like to ask, if you are new to the YouTube channel, you do end up enjoying today's video, you end up having a great time, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you are down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to let you guys know that my rankings are available for free. My articles are available for free, link down below in the description, so please make sure that you check those things out, link in the description, as well as in the pinned comment. So without further ado, let's get in onto the video. So we're drafting from the 7th spot in a 12-team league, which isn't really my preferred spot, but again, any spot in the draft, you can draft a winning team. And here at the 7th overall spot, that is what we're going to be trying to attack and try to do inside of this video. So the draft begins with Christian McCaffrey coming off the board, followed by Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Travis Kelce. Now, we are drafting up against the ESPN average draft position in this video, and on ESPN, they have Travis Kelce ranked as the 4th best player, so in ESPN drafts, he is normally going to be getting drafted much higher than on Yahoo, NFL, or any of those other websites. Normally, you see Travis Kelce start to come off the board around pick 9, all the way until some part at the beginning of the 2nd round. I've never really seen him fall outside of the 2nd round or very deep on into the 2nd round, but normally you don't see him go this high. But again, on ESPN, where you are drafting is the most key place that you need to be mock drafting, because it gives you the best idea as to where players are going to be going. So that's why Travis Kelce went at the 106. At the 105, to me, Saquon Barkley is a very, very big risk. Now, could Saquon Barkley pay off and be a top 5 running back? I believe easily. But going into drafts right now, when we are sitting here, Saquon Barkley isn't 100% healthy. There is a chance that he is on a reduced snap count week 1, or that he doesn't play week 1, or that they look to reduce his snap count very early on in the season, maybe for the first 3 games of the season. So again, after that, he's probably going to be a top 5 running back, but missing those 3 games, or potentially being put on a snap count reduction where you still want to play him, but you can't play him, but then you do play him and he scores you like 6 points. It's just going to be a very confusing situation. So inside the top 5, I'm looking to avoid Saquon Barkley. In the 1st round, I'm fine taking him, but this early, when there's running backs like Aaron Jones, like Ezekiel Elliott, who I believe to be so much safer, I am definitely turning the other cheek to drafting Saquon Barkley at the 5th overall pick. So right now, a bunch of running backs and 1 tight end have came off the board. Typically, inside the 1st round, you're going to see anywhere from 2 to 4 non-running backs come off the board. Typically, one of those non-running backs is Travis Kelce. The others are typically Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, or Stephon Diggs inside of the 1st round. So where we are sitting, we are definitely not going to be going with a quarterback inside the 1st round. So it's either running back or wide receiver. We have the pick of the litter at the wide receiver position, as every wide receiver is available. At running back, the top 5 guys are gone. Technically not my top 5 guys, but top 5 of the running backs are gone. So here, it's between Ezekiel Elliott and Aaron Jones at running back. At wide receiver, it would be Devontae Adams for me. So with how the draft is likely going to fall, I want to go running back at this spot because we are 11 picks away from picking again, which is kind of why I prefer to be drafting at either edge of the draft. Because while if you're drafting 1st, 2nd, or 3rd overall, after that swing comes around in the draft, from the 2nd to the 3rd round, you have a much shorter wait. But here, when you're sitting here in the middle at 7, at 6, at 5, you're kind of just being tossed around the whole time and just stuck in the middle, which is why I don't necessarily prefer drafting here. So we are going to go with Aaron Jones because maybe in 11 picks, I don't like the running backs there, but I do know that I will like some of the wide receivers that are available in this round. To me, Aaron Jones gets the slight tick up above Ezekiel Elliott right now. Adam Schefter yesterday came out and said during the Chiefs game that it seems like Dak's not going to be 100% for week 1, which we should have known, but it brings things into question, like how healthy is Dak? I don't know. He's not going to play in any of the preseason games. His first game will be week 1. If Dak is fucked up, we saw last season that once Dak was hurt, Ezekiel Elliott took a dive off of a cliff. So I'm a little bit nervous about Zeke. Not 100% nervous, but that definitely would give Aaron Jones the edge, in my opinion, at that spot. So after one with Aaron Jones came Devontae Adams, Ezekiel Elliott, Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Stephon Diggs begins the second round, followed by Austin Eckler, DeAndre Hopkins, Pat Mahomes, and DK Metcalf. In the first round, there was 3 non-running backs. Right now, through the first 5 picks of the second round, we have seen just 1 running back come off the board. Now, the reason why I don't pick a quarterback in the second round is because I believe that in the 4th or 5th round, while someone's going to take some other quarterbacks, in the 5th round, typically, one of the top 5 quarterbacks is available. One of Josh Allen, probably not Mahomes, but like Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, or Dak are available. And I'm fine taking one of those in the 5th round over wasting a 2nd or 3rd round pick on Patrick Mahomes when I could load up on running backs or wide receivers early and then get that quarterback in the 5th round and then say all the quarterbacks go early. Then I'm fine just waiting a lot longer and taking a later round quarterback. So that's kind of my thought process on that. So looking at the board here, not too many running backs came off of the board, which is very surprising. So maybe we should have went with a wide receiver. But here, looking at the wide receiver position, I am very excited to get Calvin Ridley on my team. I don't know why, but in a lot of drafts, even with real people are taking Justin Jefferson sometimes ahead of Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf. It happens all the time. Some people, I guess, just do not realize how good of a situation Calvin Ridley is in. A lot of people I have seen point the finger at the fact that Julio Jones is gone, and that is going to somehow derail Calvin Ridley's potential in 2021. To be honest with you, it is probably exactly the opposite, and with Julio Jones gone, Calvin Ridley can ascend to an even further level. But if you look back at the numbers, Ridley was playing basically the same with Julio and without, and how he was playing was as a top 10 wide receiver, and I believe this year he could genuinely finish as the number 1 overall wide receiver in fantasy football with the amount of volume that he's going to be receiving week in and week out for the Atlanta Falcons. So I am very excited to get Calvin Ridley inside of the 2nd round. So after we went ahead and drafted Calvin Ridley, let's see who came off the board, because we're probably going to either go wide receiver or running back with our next pick, because I assume that George Kittle and Waller would be gone, and that is exactly what happens, which does kind of suck. That's one of the shitty parts about being a middle pick is I like Darren Waller a lot in drafts, but I feel like it's kind of a reach to take him here at the 206, and he's typically is not going to fall to you at the 307, so that's what kind of sucks about being in this middle spot. So after with Ridley came Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, A.J. Brown, Joe Mixon, and Justin Jefferson. The 3rd round begins with Keenan Allen, George Kittle-Timbers, Terry McLaurin, Darren Waller, Josh Allen, and David Montgomery. So we did see Josh Allen come off the board in the 3rd round. Typically, there's a little bit longer of a wait for the second quarterback to come off the board, so I'm interested to see where Lamar, as well as Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott stand inside of this draft. So we're back up on the board here. Running back still available: DeAndre Swift, Chris Carson, J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, Darrell Henderson. I see a lot of these guys in a very similar light. My running back rankings either came out the video before this today, or it's the second video. I recorded the running back video before I recorded this one, but they should be coming out around a very similar time, sometime today. So I do have these guys all ranked relatively high: Carson, Dobbins, as well as Darrell Henderson. Carson and Dobbins ranked the highest out of this group. I like Carson a lot. I like Dobbins a lot. Will either of them fall to me inside the next round? Probably not, though, and I do kind of like this other grouping at the wide receiver position in the 4th round, so that's how I'm going to view this and go running back here. Chris Carson will be the pick. Now, I have picked Chris Carson multiple times in the last couple of videos, so I think we are going to lean J.K. Dobbins, because I want to tell you guys, if you're doing like 10 or even 5 fantasy drafts, to inside of each round, say you really like Chris Carson, but you also like J.K. Dobbins, then some of the time take Dobbins, other of the time take Chris Carson, because you don't want every single one of your teams to be completely butt-fucked by the fact that you have the same player on every single team, because if they were to go down, or maybe Chris Carson just completely plays like shit, does the complete opposite of what I believe is going to happen, Rashad Penny somehow becomes the workhorse running back or something, which I don't see happening, but it could happen. Obviously, there's chances that anything happens, then your team's going to end up all being bad as opposed to just a couple of the teams being sucking from that pick. So that's why I will lean Dobbins in this draft. I like Dobbins a lot. For the Baltimore Ravens, they are a very, very run-heavy offense, and that is going to really help out J.K. Dobbins. Surprisingly, a lot of wide receivers go in that range, not the running back. So we probably should have went wide receiver there, but how could we have kind of predicted that to happen? So after we went J.K. Dobbins came CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, Miles Sanders close out the third round. Fourth round begins with Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Swift, and Josh Jacobs, and Kyler Murray. So very interesting. One quarterback in each of rounds 2, 3, and 4. Very, very kind of a little bit different of a look, but not very surprising for one of your normal at-home leagues. So looking here at the cheat sheet right now, we're probably going to go wide receiver. Kind of sucks because I like Carson and I like Darrell Henderson, but inside the fourth round, I am excited to get Julio Jones. Julio Jones continues to be slept upon. I don't know why. This season, in the past, he's like a first-round pick. Now I understand. But Nick, he left the Falcons. Now he's on the Titans. They don't throw the ball as much, Nick. That's true. You are correct. They do not throw the ball as much. But this is going to be an offense that is going to throw the ball. Obviously, you can't just hand the ball off to Derrick Henry every single time. You don't trade for Julio Jones if you plan not to use him. That's my thought process on this. He could easily be a top 12 wide receiver, just like he's been for a majority of his career. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer to be drafting Julio Jones here inside of the fourth round. After we went ahead and drafted Julio Jones came Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, Cooper Kupp, Chris Carson, Deontay Johnson, Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase, and Kenny Galladay. Drafting Aaron Rodgers inside of the fifth round is an absolute banana lands move. Please do not be doing that. I like Rodgers a lot, but inside the fifth round, that is a little bit crazy. But again, reminder to the people watching, in your at-home leagues, quarterbacks may fly off the board very, very fast, especially if you're playing with players that are newer to fantasy football because they have a much higher perception of the quarterback position versus what is actually needed to succeed in fantasy football. But before we get into this fifth round breakdown of who I'm going to be selecting here at this pick, please make sure if you are new to the YouTube channel to make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as if you're not new, make sure to hit that like button down below. So we are up here inside of the fifth round. I'm kind of considering drafting Hockenson at this spot, but I have been taking Hockenson in a lot of these mock drafts, and like I was saying, you kind of want to not necessarily pick the same player every single time, so I'm fine waiting on tight end. Looking at the running back position, Henderson, Mike Davis, Travis Etienne. To me, there's a decently strong drop-off after Henderson and Mike Davis. I do like Gaskin a lot, but there is risk now with the potential committee. Now, again, I've kind of dismissed the committee. I've been talking about how maybe it won't be as strong as people believe, but there's still risk with that. There very much still is. Hunt, there's really no risk in him, but there's no real upside, right? Like, what's he going to do? Finish his running back like 18? Probably, and that's fine, right? I'm not excited to draft him because he doesn't have too much upside. ETN, I'm just completely out on it. I think James Robinson and Carlos Hyde are going to gobble like a fucking turkey up these touches. And then, he's kind of screwed. Like, he's going to be fine, but no real upside to me unless one of those guys was to get hurt. And then we're left with Mike Davis and Darrell Henderson. I am very much in favor of Darrell Henderson now. I don't know, something flipped in my brain a couple of weeks ago about Darrell Henderson, about how I did love Cam Akers going into the offseason. Obviously, he ends up getting hurt. Darrell Henderson ends up replacing him here. They haven't brought in any other running backs there to kind of spell out Darrell Henderson. Xavier Jones is there, as well as Jake Funk, but I believe that Darrell Henderson is the running back to own in this backfield, and I'm excited to take him in the fifth round because of my belief that this is going to be a very strong team in 2021, the LA Rams being. So after that, after we went to Darrell Henderson came Chase Edmonds, Kyle Pitts, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, TJ Hawkinson, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Odell Beckham Jr., Travis Etienne, Titty Boy T. Higgins, and Kareem Hunt. Chase Edmonds is going to be one of those running backs that is the most obvious swing and a miss pick inside the fifth round because James Conner is there, and Chase Edmonds, I almost called him James Edmonds, but Chase Edmonds has literally gotten virtually no goal line carries in his career. What makes you think that with James Conner there, he is going to somehow get a magically increased workload? If they didn't bring in James Conner, I'd be all over the Chase Edmonds train, but right now, it seems like a very easy player to avoid. Now we're in the tight end dead zone. There's a running back dead zone that some people talk about. There's a tight end dead zone, in my opinion, after those big guys come off the board. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So after we see Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Waller, those are the big three. Then there's kind of a smaller three, There's the Andrews, the Pitts, the Hawkinson. Then after that, after those guys are gone, there is just a complete and utter dead zone. What is so special that makes you want to draft Noah Fant inside the 6th round? Nothing. Logan Thomas, same thing. Goddard, Tunyon, Higbee. None of those guys I want to be drafting inside of these middle rounds. I'd rather just wait until a little bit later and draft Irv Smith. And if Irv Smith isn't available, then fuck it. I'm punting the tight end position. I'm going to draft 2 of these guys later and hope that each week I am able to decipher which one I want to start every single week. So looking at the board here, we have 3 running backs. We have 2 wide receivers. And we're basically open to do anything at this pick. Looking at the wide receiver core, Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, Robbie Anderson, Tyler Boyd, Courtland Sutton. I like Claypool. I like Sutton, I like Judy, I like Boyd, but none of those guys I'm trying to draft here. So I'd rather just draft another bench running back, right? We have 4 running backs. We already have 2 wide receivers that I'm very confident in Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. And then I could just dive in to the wide receiver position aggressively because I already have the running backs locked and loaded in. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go with Mike Davis, running back of the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people are hating on this man because he is old, right? He's old, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a fuck how old the guy is, honestly? I don't care at all. All I know is that he hasn't gotten too many carries in his career, so he's not old by the fact that he's gotten 7 zillion touches in the NFL. He's going to be fine. He's going to get receptions here in Atlanta. He's going to be used very heavily. I believe that Matt Ryan used Devontae Freeman as a dump-off machine in the past. I believe the same thing could be said with Mike Davis here in Atlanta. Had an excellent season last year backing up Christian McCaffrey. Played all those games when McCaffrey was hurt, looked very good, and I believe he will be very good in Atlanta this season. After him with Mike Davis came Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Juju Smith-Schuster, Courtland Sutton, Logan Thomas, Chase Claypool, Myles Gaskin to close out the 6th round. 7th round begins with Robbie Anderson, Jerry Jeudy, Bucks defense, James Robinson, Will Fuller, Michael Thomas. Please do not draft a defense inside the 7th round. Wait until later on in the draft to draft your defense. You are really doing yourself a disservice by not loading up on more running back depth, more wide receiver depth that you are going to need in the season. You don't need those defenses. You can just stream them every single week. So we're back up here looking at wide receiver, and I like Tyler Boyd a decent amount. Now, Jamar Chase hasn't seemed as bad in practice, allegedly. Allegedly, these reports are coming out that he's looking slightly better. But I mean, have we seen it in these preseason games? Have we seen Jamar Chase have an excellent game? I don't know. I think that Boyd's going to be involved. I still like Jamar Chase, but I think that Boyd is really the guy, not the guy to have, because I still think Higgins is the guy to have. But if I'm being honest with you, inside the 7th round, getting a piece of an offense that's going to be throwing the ball at a super duper high rate in Cincinnati with a good quarterback, I'm kind of buying all over that with Tyler Boyd. Brandon Cook's a very safe pick as well. I also like Devontae Smith, so I'm hoping he falls our way, but he obviously doesn't end up doing that because we just said his name, so why would he fall to us? So after we went ahead and drafted Mr. Tyler, Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals, we see Brandon Cooks come off the board, followed by Laviska Shenault, Michael Gallup, Devontae Smith, DJ Chark, Javonte Williams, Jarvis Landry, Deebo Samuel, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Antonio Brown. I like Antonio Brown. The 8th round seems a little ambitious, but he is going to be really involved in that offense, so I do kind of understand that. So we're at pick 90. A lot of wide receivers have came off the board and not a lot of running backs, which is very strange, in my opinion. Normally, we don't see this. Normally in the 8th round, there's typically more to choose from than what we have here. Curtis Samuel has really been falling. Now, he is banged up right now, but there is still a chance that with him being the wide receiver 2 in Washington, with how Curtis Samuel was used in Ron Rivera's system in Carolina, with running the ball, these jet sweep type of deal, Ron Rivera is the head coach of the Washington football team. He may be a relatively safe pick here. But again, the running back value is too strong. And I understand some people might not understand why I always load up on these running backs. But again, right after this, you don't even have to take a running back again. We don't have to even take one right now. We could easily go wide receiver here, but no one is really standing out. Whereas I feel as though Damian Harris could have a season where, he's a top 20 running back and you're getting him at running back 29. But again, we also do have all these running backs, so it may kind of be a stupid move to load up one more time, but I don't think it is, and I'm fine taking a bunch of wide receivers in this group that I think have the upside to break out. So I'm going to go with Damian Harris, running back of the New England Patriots. I know not a lot of people are super fond of him because they believe this is a pretty heavy committee system, right? Ramondre Stevenson looked really good in that preseason game. I believe that Damian Harris is the lead back there in New England, so I'm excited to get him in the 8th round. After Damian Harris came Raheem, the Dream, Mostert, Leonard Fournette, Baltimore Ravens defense, Melvin Gordon, Bills, Washington football team, Kenya Drake, Zach Moss, Ryan Tannehill, Jalen Waddle, Curtis Samuel, and Hollywood Brown. So looking at let's see, actually, we want to go back to the draft board. Now, this is something very clutch that Fantasy Pros has, that Yahoo has. I don't think NFL has it, but it's this by roster where you can look at every team's, like, how many quarterbacks they have and shit. So right here, me and only one other team don't have a quarterback. No one has a backup quarterback, so it's very likely that we can wait a little bit longer to get our quarterback because I'm fine with Stafford or Burrow at this point. So we are going to go wide receiver here, and it is a tough decision for me between Mike Williams and Marvin Jones. I also like Corey Davis, but I think Elijah Moore will be the number one target there, who, to me, probably is the better pick, but you can wait longer on him. So here, we're going to go with Mike Williams. I haven't picked him a lot recently. I've been drafting a lot of Marvin Jones. I think Marvin Jones can be the wide receiver one there in Jacksonville. Mike Williams maybe is not going to be the wide receiver one there, obviously, because Keenan Allen is there. But if this offense does continue to get better, if Mike Williams is able to stay healthy and really put it together, because if you look at his stats, it's actually hilarious. He had a year where he got 1,000 yards and just 2 touchdowns. Then he had a year where he had 664 yards and 11 touchdowns. So maybe he has like 900 yards and 8 touchdowns or something, maybe a more increased version of last year, and he could easily be a reliable wide receiver 3 flex option for your team week in and week out. So after we went ahead and drafted Mr. Mike Williams, we can see that, let's see, we got to click on the actual by round here. So after we went ahead and drafted Mike Williams came Henry Ruggs, Michael Carter, Corey Davis, A.J. Dillon, Rams defense, Marvin Jones, Mr. Starvin, Marvin Jones, James Conner, Noah Fant, Cole Beasley, and Ronald Jones. I'm going to slide myself all the way over here to the left so that you guys can see the draft board better. Sadly, we did see Marvin Jones come off the board. That would have been a great pick there inside of the 10th round. Now I have some real questions about Mccall Hardman because I was really believing that he wasn't going to be the guy. Now, obviously, he wasn't going to be the number 1 guy, but the number 2 guy behind Tyreek Hill. And then last night, he was getting, targeted pretty decently by Mahomes. But it might be fool's gold. It really might be, and that has been my standpoint all offseason, and I'm still going to stick to that. I'm still going to stick to the fact that this is fool's gold. So here, we are going to go with our quarterback. Make sure we get our guy. Jalen Hurts did end up having, I might have said that earlier in this video. I don't know, maybe it was the video I recorded before this, but I was talking about how Jalen Hurts, I really wanted to see him in preseason. I really wanted to see him play like a quarter or something. Get some real viewing out of Jalen Hurts to really establish how I felt about him. Because right now, I'm kind of sitting at the standpoint where it's like, I don't know. If I draft him here, I think he's a big risk, but his upside is very high because of his rushing potential. But he's also very risky. We haven't seen him. He ended up getting sick before the game, had to go to the hospital. Not the greatest, right? But he should be good for next week. They only had to hospitalize him, I believe, for 2 days. So he should be out either today or tomorrow. So not terrible, but weird because we don't get to see him. So here I'm going to go with Stafford. I believe the much safer pick of the LA Rams. Top 10 potential. Doesn't really have much rushing upside, but this should be a very solid offense in LA this year with Matthew Stafford as the quarterback. After Matthew Stafford came the 49ers defense, Trey Sermon, Jalen Hurts, Jamal Williams, Jalen Reagor, David Johnson, T.Y. Hilton, Phillip Lindsay, Mccall Hardman, Naheem Hines, Robert Tonyan, Devin Singletary back up on the board here. Definitely going to go tight end. Dallas Goedert is still available. I do have Irv Smith ranked ahead of him, but I do think Dallas Goedert could be really good. He just got fucked over by the fact that Zach Ertz is still there, so maybe we'll just wait on one more round and maybe be able to get him inside of the 12th round, which I'm fine doing. So we are going to lean wide receiver at this pick and go with Darnell. Here comes the Mooney. Or should we go with Elijah Moore? See, this is the question between safety and upside, because I think Darnell Mooney is a little bit safer, but he is the clear wide receiver 2 in Chicago. He's not going to pass up Allen Robinson, whereas Elijah Moore could be the wide receiver 1 there in New York. A little more risky. Here we're going to take the risk and go with Elijah Moore, because again, I'm really confident with Cal Ridley, Julio Jones, Tyler Boyd, that I'm willing to take that risk. So looking at the board after we went ahead and drafted Mr. Elijah Moore, it said that we reached, but it's A-okay in my mind. After we went with Elijah Moore came Dallas Goedert, J.D. McKissick, the Denver Broncos defense, Mike Licki, Mike Gesicki, Tony Pollard, Gus Edwards, Rob Gronkowski, James White, Devontae Paca, and the New England Patriots defense. So next up here, we are going to be going with a tight end. We are going to get Irv Smith. The reason why I like Irv Smith so much is because when Kyle Rudolph was out last season, when he was hurt, Irv Smith really filled that role perfectly and was averaging a bunch of points. He's like a 10-plus point per game kind of a player, and that's what you're looking for inside the 12th round at the tight end position with a lot of upside, obviously. Not the most pass-heavy team in the NFL in Minnesota, but they'll still be able to get it done here with Mr. Irv Smith. So after we went ahead and drafted Irv Smith came the Alexander Madison, Jonnu Smith, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Latavius Murray, Michael Pittman, Malcolm Brown, Giovanni Bernard, Chuba Hubbard, Xavier Jones, and Nelson Aguilar. I almost called him Mccall Hardman. Definitely not the name that I read there. So we don't need a backup quarterback because I'm confident in Matthew Stafford. Don't need a backup tight end because I'm confident in Irv Smith. Say we waited on Irv Smith. Didn't get him, right? Then I'm confident with Higbee. But after that, if I'm stuck with Evan Ingram, I don't like that. So I'm going to have to draft Evan Ingram and someone else. I'm going to have to draft maybe Adam Troutman and someone else. That's how I kind of feel about that. Same thing goes with quarterback. Had I not gotten Stafford, if I'm stuck with say, Kirk Cousins, then I might want to draft 2 quarterbacks. So looking at the board right now, we are going to go running back. And we're going to go ahead and get Tevin Coleman because I do feel as though we are going to see Michael Carter be the running back 1 on that team. At the beginning of the year, it's probably going to be Tevin Coleman, and maybe you could fool someone in your league who maybe doesn't know who the fuck Michael Carter is into thinking Tevin Coleman's going to be very good, and, you just pull a nice swindle on him because I think eventually Michael Carter will be the guy, but Tevin Coleman is a pretty solid handcuff if Michael Carter was to go down. So after Tevin Coleman came Mock Ingram, Ramadre Stevenson, Tariq Cohen, Rashad Penny, Patty Campbell, Tyler Higbee, Harrison Bucker the fucker, Kenneth Gainwell, Evan Ingram, and Salvin Ahmed. So now we are going to go ahead and go with another running back and probably another wide receiver. Now, normally I would tell you to draft a kicker and a defense, but we are still 2 weeks out. Like, there's still 1 more week of preseason after this weekend of preseason games. So there's still training camp too. So my assumption is that maybe someone gets hurt. Again, there's no way to know who's going to get hurt, but probably someone's going to get hurt. So why draft a kicker and a defense when you can just cut 2 players off your bench that you draft here at the end if they don't end up paying off? And then you're fine. You just pick up a kicker, pick up a defense. So here, I'm going to go ahead and go with a high upside shot here because I'm probably going to end up cutting this player. So we're going to go ahead and go with Jakobi Meyers, who looked very good for New England. Looks like he may be the #1 wide receiver there. So a very sneaky late round pick for Jakobi Meyers. After we went ahead and drafted Mr. Jakobi Meyers came Justin Tucker the fucker, Randall Cobb, Hunter Henry, Justin Fields, Matt Ryan, Young Ho Koo, because my old bitch lame, but my Young Ho Koo, Jason Myers, Jason Sanders, Brandon McManus, Cleveland Browns, Matt Gay, and now we are back up on the board here. Again, going to draft a backup running back over a defense. Here we're going to go with, let's see. I think Boston Scott may be the #2 there in Philadelphia, so if something was to happen to Miles Sanders, I think Boston Scott is a fine pickup in that case. So our team is complete bunch of running backs, defenses, are actually the only never mind. We were the only one going with a non-defense or kicker there. So everything else was a kicker, so no real need to recap. So our team here at the end of this draft, Matthew Stafford is our starting quarterback. 2 running backs are Aaron Jones and J.K. Dobbins. Wide receivers, Calvin Ridley. Julio Jones is our other wide receiver. Our tight end is Irv Smith. Our flex is Darrell Henderson. Our bench is comprised of Mike Davis, Tyler, Damian Harris, Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Tevin Coleman, Jakobi Meyers, and Boston Scott. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day. Most of the days, 2 videos a day. Check out my other channel, not my channel, I don't own the channel, but I'm also on another channel, Awesemo Fantasy Football. Post videos on there most every day as well. Other content creators on there as well. It's great. It is amazing. Make sure you subscribe. We're close to trying to get 10,000 subscribers before the season here. I want 20,000 subscribers before the season. That's probably like impossible. But thank you guys for all the support. I really do appreciate it. I love all of you guys. Make sure that you stay safe as always. Goodbye.